Evening, it is 7 p.m. I'd like to call to order the regular November meeting of the Stevensville School Board of Trustees. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll start with roll call of our board. Nathan? Here. Billy? Stephanie? I'm here. Ben? Fran? Tony? Jennifer?
Here.
And Dan? All right, having convened a quorum, we will proceed with tonight's meeting. At this time, all right, and Fran, thanks, Fran. Sorry about that, we'll see it on my papers. All right, at this time, is there any comment from the board? Any items or comment?
I'd like to just, I guess, challenge the board. This Saturday is Stevensville's hosting speech and debate, and I know they need more judges. It's a super fun experience. I've done it every year for a while now since my kids were speech and debaters. And I would just challenge y'all to sign up to judge a round or two and see all the great kids we have not only at our school, but just here in Montana.
Thank you, good reminder there. I'll offer significantly huge compliments for today's Veterans Day Assembly. All hands, all grades that were involved in that, from student council organizing it to all faculty, staff, students involved, the students that had their parts rehearsed and well worked out. It was just an absolutely great display of what the school is capable of, and then most importantly honoring such an important part of our community. So, well done. Right.
Sorry, first off, that I was on the late, few minutes late. I just want to take an opportunity to recognize our PTC, this new group of women that have taken over the PTC. Not that the other women were not fabulous, they were just a little overwhelmed, long after years of doing it. They are like, they are a group of women who have young children who will be in the district for a while, and they're really gung-ho. They did the Jogathon recently and set their goal at $10,000, which was more than has ever been raised for the Jogathon. They exceeded that and raised over $11,000 with the Jogathon. They have the turkey bingo coming up. I think it's the 21st of November in the MPR. They have they're calling it the Very Merry Market, basically the bazaar coming back. So just really excited. I've been attending the meetings and visiting with these ladies, and there's a lot of energy going on around that and all that they're doing. So I just wanted to recognize that.
Thank you. All right, is there any comment or recognition of visitors from the district?
Yes, under my report, I would like to include Booster Club is here to give a little update on some of the fundraising that they've done. Also, right along with what Fran just said about the PTC, I'd like to acknowledge definitely our Booster Club for all the efforts they've done, and they're coming to bring some information forward underneath my report today.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open.
Oh, and Andre Holiday is guest here from law firm 7. Is that the Upper 7 law firm out of Bozeman, correct? Helena. Okay.
You're welcome. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. This is time for comment on matters that are not on the agenda. All topics for public comment cannot include any pending legal matters, private personnel issues, or private student issues. The board cannot enter into any discussion during general public comment. The board may occasionally ask questions to clarify public comment or correct an inaccurate statement for any public comment.
Who's just public here?
Sure.
Thank you. I want to agree with
State
Fran.
your name for the camera.
Yeah. I love the PTC, oh, sorry, Mandy Conrad and Christy Wyatt. I want to agree with Fran because the PTC women are so wonderful and everything they say, I'm like, oh my gosh, such good, so I agree with you. They are wonderful, wonderful people and they have so much energy, like you said, which is kind of good because it's like nice to have another exciting thing going on, and then we're kind of feeding off each other, like we donated some sweatshirts to the Jogathon for winners and stuff, so it's just fun. They're great. We met with Zeke, John Conan, Brody, Nate, Christy and I, and Nikki, who's not here right now, this week just to kind of just talk about what we've done the last couple of years since we've been doing Booster, like what we've been giving money to, what we've been bringing in concessions wise. So we do have, I'm gonna put these minutes, what we kind of talked about, not minutes, but I'll put these on our minutes for Booster if you really want to look at them specifically. Last year, just kind of a little bit of a heads up, we've had really great business sponsorships, which has been huge for us. Last year, we were at $22,654 with just memberships. Our concession stand, we like to use concession stand in order to get money back to the teams and groups, whoever wants to work for us. So total concession stand costs like $38,000. I probably am not going to spend this right, but $38,000 total. Expenses of that was $21,000 for 7. We paid out $11,475 last year to teams and groups that work for us in concession stand. And then from all of that Booster, we brought in personally $5,358. Last year, what we did was custom cross-country tents that were $1,400, basketball warm-up shirts, middle school boys and girls basketball uniforms, cheer bows, breakaway banner, pink out game, pom-poms, glow sticks, stuff for the kids. $1,000 donation to the Steve I Food program with Fran. We sponsored the homecoming barbecue, which has been really cool to like work with Zeke and stuff. It's been just such a cool thing, get all these kids out there. They're getting food, they're having fun, they're being kids, so that's been a blast. So we did the barbecue last year, pom-poms, glow sticks, and just fun things for all the games. A big thing is we paid for every student to get into the homecoming games for free for the whole week, which we think is really important, and we really want to. Our goal is to get at least high school kid to not have to pay to get into games. So that's something we've talked with Brody and Zeke about a little bit. Just we get more kids there if they didn't have to pay sometimes. We did football and weight equipment with a private donation. We paid for batting cages, soccer speakers, senior gifts for all the sports. Some basketball camps, golf umbrellas, and goodie bags for softball and tennis. So that was last year. So the total payout for all those things was $23,364. And then this year, just from July to today, basically, our memberships is $27,655. We sponsored some fun coaches shirts at the beginning of the year. We gave $1,900 to the tennis courts to just make them practicable and possibly get a match in, which is cool. We helped with that Huddle subscription, which was $3,400 this year. We did the homecoming bonfire. We paid for all the students again. We did softball mitts for first base, left and right-handed mitts. We did soccer bags for all the boys and girls soccer team. We helped golf do the simulator. We paid for cheer team to attend districts of volleyball. We also donated to the food program again, pink out game pom-poms, paid for volleyball, kids to come to the district or the playing game. Sorry, I'm just reading this. I'm not trying to say too much. We're just trying to let you guys know what we're doing. Goodie bags, getting the new B up in the gym with Pepsi. They're going to pay for it. First, Christy contacted them. They're like, hey, we have a contract with you. Can you put the new B in? And they're like, no problem. So they're going to do that for us. And then discussed with Tin Can to stay open late just so that everybody can go and hang out after games. So just to let you guys know what we've been doing a little bit. And so total payout this year has been $12,000 to so far. And we're hoping to get to like every single team and then more groups, the more people that want to help us, we want to help them. And that's like our biggest thing. Like concessions is like our thing. We're like, you get the concessions, like if you want to come work, then they make 30%, 35%, right? Which is a lot of money. I mean, homecoming alone, concession stands, we made $2,400, I think. So that payout's huge. If people want to come and work for us, it's like a great way to make money. So I feel like the coaches are really getting on board and feeling good about it, right? We want to talk about doing a bigger booster banquet. We talked to everybody about, we hear the tennis courts are kind of getting where they need to be, which we're excited about. So maybe helping with the track, if we can do that, you know, there's some finalities with that. I don't know if we can, but more fundraising, free entry to the games. We really want to work on that for our kids, just be able to come to the games. So that's like our big thing right now, get kids out there. And then we just kind of discuss like, how do we keep players? How do we get coaches? And we talked about possibly having like a hiring committee, which we thought was all kind of like a decent idea to get a couple of people from the community in there. You know, Christy and I talked to like a lot of people that are, you know, that's not necessarily talking to everybody else. So it's like just keeping everybody like of what the thoughts are, what's going on. So, do you have any thoughts? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, ladies.
Those are amazing.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah.
All right, is there further public comment? All right.
And just to feed into, because I'm the liaison between those guys and the board. And, you know, logistically, we've talked about how do we get these kids into the home games for free? And, you know, these guys are willing to, I don't know if you guys are Brewster members, but get a card that's laminated. Like, it would be very easy if somebody wants to say like, well, it's too hard, you know, to do that and figure out whose kids who, and do they go to Steva or do they not? You know, we brainstorm that, we have an idea to give everybody a card that we want to. I don't know that it should be limited. But I don't know that it should be limited in my personal opinion. All these kids can have an ID card. Cards are cool when you're young, right? They're not gonna lose it. And so if they get an ID card, they're able to get in the games for free. I think that's really big. We're growing these sports. We're on the right track, and filling those stands for these kids that are coming out and busting their butt, it's a big deal. And I don't know what, you know, we've talked about it sort of blue in the face, but, you know, a family of 4, if we're letting in 2 people, the other 2 are still paying. You know, the other 2 are still buying popcorn. They're gonna buy, you know, nachos or whatever it is. We're really high on that right now because I think it's a big deal. It's a big deal to us, and I think that us as an administration, as board, we need to look at that and figure out how we can make this happen sooner rather than later.
And just to kick off of that, when we talked to Brody, because I don't know whose decision it is, but Brody's like, I think it's a great idea. Like he had nobody's really against it.
No.
I think it's just if we can do it, it's like a yay or a nay, you know? So, because I don't think anybody's really against it. And I guess it would be if we really lose that many funds, but like how much does come in from concessions? Like volleyball, basketball every night is making $1,000 every night. So even if we needed to commit, like, I don't even know, $100 every night back to the school, $150, $200, we can do that. You know, if that makes it easier for kids to come in, because we really are making a lot of money at concession stands.
I think it's something we need to talk about.
We're not gonna put the-
Well, I'm so sorry.
No, I'm not scolding you, I'm reprimanding you.
Just name.
I really have to say, I can't not say, like, you guys, the work that just the 2 of you done, I know you guys have other people behind you, but every time I see somebody putting up sandwich boards, doing, you know, this task, and like, I think that's one of their helpers, one of your community, it's always you guys. And so you guys are so visible, you're so seen, and you are a huge part of this uplift that's happening in Stevensville. And I hope you guys can feel that, and I hope that you can see that and see it in our students. And it radiates out from you guys. So thank you so much for your leadership and your positive attitude and your like constant
guesses to, let's figure that out, yes, we're there. So, we're- I'm sorry.
Yeah. All good, all good. All right. And so, all right, further public comment. All right. So we'll move on to our consent agenda. Consent agenda is organized into 3 sections: credit card payments, approval of claims, and approval of minutes. Items on tonight's consent agenda have been organized as such due to their similar nature and been deemed unlikely by the superintendent and board chair to require individual discussion. We'll start first with credit card payments. As a reminder, these are items that have already been paid as per board directive to pay the district credit card balances prior to board approval. Tonight, we are looking at Visa claims 42937 through 42947, totaling $13,913.65. Does any board member have a question about these items that have already been? Does any member of the public have a question about these items purchased with the district credit card? Right. We'll move on to approval of claims. These are claims numbered 42913 to 42937, as well as 42948 to 43007, for a total of $171,701.79. These have not yet been paid and are subject to the full review and oversight of the board. Does any trustee have a question about any of tonight's regular claims? Yes, Ryan?
I don't have a question, but I do want to make a comment. Along the same lines that we've just been talking, that I think that it is a good idea for our students to get in and we want the support. I think that what we need to keep in mind is something that's on our claims tonight. The general, if we look at our claims, our general athletic fund got almost $15,000 put into for this month. And when we look at the breakdown as to what that is, the majority of that is tickets. And so that's, to me, that's the tricky part, right? Is figuring out how, because we're paying our referees and stuff out of that. And so as I was looking, it was ironic that came up tonight because that struck me as a huge amount. And so I looked into it further on the claims. So I think that's just something, that's a logistical thing that we have to figure out, because that's a huge chunk of money that is used for very specific things in our athletic fund, like paying our referees and stuff like that. And so that's just something I wanted to point out.
Right. And to counter that, we're not talking about like.
No. I get that, but just today, if you look at just the activity passes, like the Karen Darnell sold, that's over $2,000. You're talking $2,500. And that's, potentially, that's your student passes right there, the majority of your student passes. So, not saying can't be done, I'm just saying that's something for us to look at when we're looking.
Part of the discussion too, at some point, we're the only school in the valley, in the Bitterroot Valley, that doesn't have a pay-to-play piece. Just right up the road from us is the most expensive place in Montana, in Florence, that they charge $125 per sport per kid, and they don't have a discount. And I don't agree with that either, but we don't have a pay-to-play with our district, and so there's a lot of factors, Fran, like you said, that need to be part of our discussions as we move forward. Thank you.
And we did the pay to play at one point. We did that for one season when Dave Tennis was with us. And I would have to go back and look at the numbers, but I think we had a decline in our athletes during that period. So it would be interesting to me for us to pull those figures and see, because I know there was a lot of talk about, whether it was worth it in the long run to have the pay to play as it affected our athletes. So, that might be some statistics that we might need Oklahoma City. During that time, what were the numbers for our athletes that participated versus those that are participating now?
Jennifer?
So I was actually, when you were speaking, I was thinking of the pay to play issue. I know, even Lone Rock has a pay to play, and that's how they pay their referee fees. And so I think if, that's definitely a way to go. I think that the 1 year we tried pay to play, I don't think it was necessarily, I think we tried to make it more complicated than it had to be, because I think we put if you play so many and then this and then that and so many kids and we ended up not using those funds. They went and sat in an account and didn't get used for anything, which I think defeats the purpose as well. I do think most schools have pay to play. I think that is a way to put those funds into the budget, specifically for referees, because referees are expensive and they're only getting more expensive. And I know it's harder and harder to find referees for our events, at least that's what I've heard. So I think it's definitely something we would need to consider. And I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with if we let our students into games for free or not. I think in some ways those are kind of separate, although slightly connected.
With the pay to, sorry, if I may comment, with the pay to play, if they did a pay to play, they got a pass to get into every game for the entire school year. And I was taking tickets at that time, and I did see an increase in that year in students attending because they had the pass to come to every game all year long.
Well, students get a student ID already, couldn't they don't? Okay. In the high school though?
I don't think they get a student card, do they, Zeke? No.
But like a student, they don't have a student ID
No.
anymore?
Their families have to pay.
Not anymore. We don't get student IDs anymore.
Okay, then never mind.
Yeah.
I was like, my kids always have IDs.
Yeah,
I didn't know
no.
why we were talking about needing additional IDs.
Ben, I need to make a correction on the claim summary I put in front of you.
Okay.
It should be claim 42936.
Instead of 9.
Yes.
Correct.
Are there further questions about tonight's claims, 42913 and 42936, and then the other side? Right. Does any trustee wish to remove an individual claim from tonight's? Right. Any member of the public have questions about the claim? All right. Lastly, we'll approve our recent minutes. Tonight, you have minutes in front of you from October 14th, work session at 6 p.m. and a regular board meeting at 7 p.m. on October 15th. Any trustee have questions or corrections from the minutes? Any member of the public have questions about the minutes? All right, trustee approval of the consent agenda only pertains to those items that trustees legally have the right to approve under 2-3-202 of Montana Code. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda as presented? And with the correction from Shelby, 429. Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to approval of employment. All employment pending the completion of satisfactory background checks. And as a reminder, and we'll start stating your needs, all coaches and athletic hires are pending satisfactory completion of the HSA Montana Football Association. And I guess this is just a good opportunity to check in with our athletic staff that everybody's coming on board with all the Stigers laws and everything before they can work with kids. As we hire these folks, everything's all before they start anything. Okay. All right, we'll start first with district-wide substitutes. Tonight, the district is proposing that we make it eligible for the substitute list, Benjamin Hartman and Brittany Morris. The floor is open for motion.
I move to approve the substitute hire list as presented.
Stephanie? Second by Nathan. All those in favor, or sorry, is there any board comment? Public comment? All those in favor say aye. All opposed say sign. Motion carries. District-wide staff, proposed to hire Philip Neely, Sarah Driscoll, John Drager, Morgan Redfield Jr. Floor is open.
I move to accept the district-wide staff as presented.
Jennifer, second by Nathan. Board comment? Public comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to the elementary district. Proposed to hire Nicole Sylvester, Emily Hicks, Brianne Kuchel, and Kim Jones. Floor is open for a motion.
I move to approve the elementary district hires as presented.
Stephanie? Seconded by Nathan. Comment from the board? Comment from the public? Dan, how do you vote? Aye. Fran?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
And Nathan?
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving on to the high school district, proposed to hire Margaret Zilla. And athletic hires Tyler Holmes, Zachary Tritz, and Katie Warner. Floor is open for a motion.
I move to approve the high school district hiring as presented.
Jennifer?
Second.
Second by Stephanie. Questions from the board? Comment or questions from the public? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Moving on to resignations that have been presented to us this past month. District-wide resignations include the unfortunate loss of food service director Dave Thomas, the addition of the district. Is there, the floor is open for motion.
I move to accept the resignations as presented.
All right.
Are we doing just, are we separating that? Yeah, I'm sorry. District-wide resignations as presented.
All right, moved by Stephanie, seconded by Nathan. Is there questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Lastly, we have 3 elementary district resignations. Kyle Franzen, to be clear, resigning from middle school basketball, that position specifically, and Sean Demi resigning as well as a middle school assistant basketball coach, and Ricky Morris as special education para. The floor is open for motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the elementary district resignations as presented.
You? Second.
Second.
Fran, second by Stephanie. Any questions from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Nathan, how do you vote? Aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
I vote aye. Fran?
Aye.
And Dan? Aye. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to our informational items, which we do not have a student body representative tonight. And so, Mr. Conan, I'll let you lead us off with item 6B. Sorry. Stephanie, I will refer to you for report on, and whoever else you want to engage on the trustee report related to Gibson.
Thank you. It was, I know a few of these, it was the best inventive. I went plan attended, virtually, but it was in the that this past week, so catch up with those. And Jen joined me on that, so we got to go participate in that. The thing that made it so that I loved about it was there was all the educational components all the training, all the exposure to partnerships. But the theme was nurturing and creativity and curiosity. So there was just this tone of the public education has kind of been thrown up. Let's just focus on solving problems while lifting each other up and really supporting each other. So it was just sort of a cool tone to take everything going on. The pre-conference day was an overview of the state legislature's school finance interim committee work and the advocacy work that the Campus Coalition is doing to promote education models and funding reform for the districts or for the state of Montana to fund districts. There's a lot going on there. It's kind of hard to summarize here. Basically, they're spending the first 6 months, the interim committee is spending the first 6 months of their year term focusing on how do we educate our kids in Montana and how do other people educate their kids. And then they're going to take some of those components of those models and see how those juxtapose against what we're already doing. And the second 6 months, they're going to figure out if we need to change the funding formula and make the adjustments and to apply to their findings from the first 6 months. They'll roll all of that into proposals for legislative action in the upcoming session. So that's the work they're doing right now. It's a huge job, and honestly, it's something that could take years and years and years to be evaluating all this thoroughly. So it's a lot to undertake in 2 6-month chunks. So we'll see how that goes, but there's a lot of good work being done. The keynote speaker was this fellow, Ron Clark. He's written education books. The Essential 55 is one of his big ones. He's done a couple. He's got a model school. I want to say in Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah. He has so much energy. He was so positive. He's done so much reform work, but he kind of takes this idea of you can just overhaul a school and it takes like kind of all of this work and all this energy, or you can just do like 1 to 10% better at each of these things you do. So why don't you just try doing these things 10% better and see what that looks like. So instead of answering your phone in a certain way, instead of reading your students in a certain way, instead of showing up to a board meeting in a certain way, you just think like, what can I do that would put 10% more into this activity that I'm doing? And you don't go home at the end of the day more exhausted. You have a coordinated play, or you have like big changes happening, happier people. He had a huge theme of uplift and what he was talking about as well. Like there's, even if you have problems with people, there's no point in just beating each other down. Let's figure out how to do it, each other up. There's a bunch of breakout sessions and they were really good. But I'll kind of skip down we had a delegates assembly. And so there's 2 pieces of proposals for legislation that MTSBA and probably the Campus Coalition will support in the next legislative session. They both look at depending on what happens with the interim committee, if they don't carry the football far enough, they're looking at just trying to kind of keep pushing the exploration of school funding and extending that work that they're doing that they probably don't have enough time to do. So we'll see that stuff coming up here in the next legislative session. Jen? What did you get out of Unsolved?
Well, I think one of the things I love about getting to go to that is that you're in rooms with people who have the same goals in general, to promote and make our school systems the best they can be and to educate our children and take care of our staff. And so it's really cool to be around other people who feel the same way you do. And we hear and learn from them what they're doing that's being successful. It's kind of like reinvent the wheel, look at what they're doing, and if it's been good, let's see if we can add that in. If it's not been so great, let's move past that and find a different answer. There was lots of amazing information, but I know it was overwhelmingly nice. got home from the 2.5 days and took a long nap. With that brain overload, so many things.
Great speakers, great presentations, great company in the room to be talking to while serving all this information. Thank you.
Thank you for attending and representing us, most importantly, and we're going to bring you back, helping us keep all moving forward and safe as well. Questions from the board? Questions from the public? Right, thank you. Mr. Conan, I'll turn it over to you for
Sure.
the introduction of item 6C.
Sure. Recently here at our Western Mass meetings where all the superintendents meet from the western area of Montana, we've been talking about what's been started and what's going on with the funding commission. And a lot of us are worried about how fast it's happening because we're worried that it's not going to be able to be done, like you said, in the amount of time that we have allotted for that. Interesting enough, I've worked in 2 different school districts now that have been part of state lawsuits against the state for state funding. And so we have several districts that are struggling to be able to fund schools the way we need to attract teachers here, to be able to pay for the activities and curriculum that we want to be able to make sure our students have, which brings up the adequate funding piece. And a lot of the superintendents are worried about the fact that they want to have faith in the commission that they're going to do hard work to put forward this effort. But if they don't, then what? We have several districts that are struggling to be able to make ends meet, especially with inflation. Stevensville is one of those districts where we have a low mill value as compared to surrounding districts. And what it takes our voters to be able to do goes back on our property taxes to be able to make an effort towards improving our campus and our buildings. Obviously, we have one of the very few tracks, that in my hometown track in Fort Benton, that are not meters. So ours is a 440 meter. So, I mean, there's a lot of pieces on our campus that need to be updated for sure. And it's really hard to ask our voters that are taxpayers to foot the bill for a bond, for a levy. This upcoming spring, we're going to be asking our voters to help support us with a tech levy this spring. Technology, not only in the hands of our kids, but technology that helps with safety on our campus. Since 2013, we've changed the way that tech levies are funded, and they sunset every 10 years, go back to the voters to ask voters to reapprove money being taxed for them, for our schools. And so.
Hi, my name's John. Sorry.
Hey, John. They thought it was Zeke.
Anyway, leading up to discussions recently here this year with superintendents, there are some school districts that are worried that the state, by the time they get done with getting their findings out, and if it's not adequate, then starting a lawsuit after that would be another 2 years possibly down the road from the time that the commission comes back with their suggestions. And so I have Andre Holiday here today from Upper 7. He has been presenting, or his group has been presenting in different school districts, this is strictly informational for us. Not saying we're thinking about going either way. I just wanted to put the information in front of you because a lot of our school districts are thinking about this funding dilemma that we have in our state to adequately fund public education. And so with no further ado, I don't know how great of introduction that was, Andre. Thank you for making it all the way here from Helena. But Andre Holiday will present a little bit on the Upper Sevens possible lawsuit going forward.
So thanks for having me, and thanks, John. Thankfully sold like half of my issue. So you'll get a little later, quickly. Just for all of us. My name is Andre Holiday. I'm an attorney with Upper Sevens Law. I'm guessing, John, you became familiar with us through meeting Mike at Hill.
Yeah, and we all talked about you guys at one of our last meetings, about 35 superintendents.
So the Missoula Board of Trustees, School District Trustees voted to pursue potential litigation over education funding. In the paper. So what does that actually mean? It means that a group of districts, in the past it's been parents, coalitions, teachers, right, anyone who's a stakeholder in education in our state, saying the state is not meeting its requirements to fund education appropriately. It all kind of starts with our state constitution, which is a pretty fantastic constitution. If you haven't taken the chance to read it recently, enjoy some time reading. It, for education purposes, two major facets. One, state is supposed to provide its share so that our kids receive a free quality elementary and secondary education. That's your quality piece, that's your adequacy piece. States have given their money to make sure everyone's got that equal opportunity. State is also supposed to dispense those monies to equity, right, which equity and equality are different concepts. You've got to make sure that your district with a low taxing valuation, a district that has low industry, taxable C2 district that has lots of public land in it, can still get to the starting line at the same same opportunity as say Big Sky. So out of two lawsuits, Helena Elementary and Columbia Falls, you might have heard of them, the state kind of crafted funding mechanism that exists today. An equity piece, which you get to an 80% base, right, which you probably hear about at funding time, or a max value that districts can go to and how they can get funds and ask for additional funds for voter-supported levies. In theory, you're supposed to be able to say, if we just want to operate a base, just that straight money that comes in from the state and then those equalization dollars, we can do that. And we can provide that free quality education to all of our kids. I often tell boards as sort of a thought experiment, because I know you guys, I think, are operating under the 486 respectively between your elementary and high school districts, so you're a little off base. Think about whether or not you feel like you are providing that free quality education at that number, and if you took away those 4 and 6% respectively, and if you took away any additional operational levies that you all have, would you be capable of meeting those benchmarks for free quality education? Because you're supposed to be able to do that without any additional dollars. The reason for that, right, is you didn't want to have church districts in the church. So when Columbia Falls came along, the legislature had to go and actually find what are those components of that quality. And the legislature had to go to the drawing board of courts to open line with something you gotta do. They came away with about 8 components, and in general, we talked about that resolution standards, standards, curriculum, right? Are you able to implement new curriculum, new textbooks, are you able to provide that training for your teachers in order for them to provide that stuff in their classrooms? Are you able to provide for students that have special needs, and that's not just students with disabilities, that's English language learners, that's different talented students, right? That's at-risk students. Are you providing new education for all if you're accepting those funds? Technology, facilities, right? Are you able to repair what you've got? Are you able to sock away enough money so that when what you've got now is no longer functional, you can build a new one? That goes through your building, that goes through your athletic facilities, it goes through a roof that, technology, right now, especially with so much of our content being delivered, technology-wise, can you buy, are you sharing computers? I was at a conference recently where one of the state's standards is one computer per 8 kids. I would sort of laugh at that these days and what we're expecting our students to be prepared for using technology. Can you renew your software licenses? Can you capitalize buying those computers? 5 years. 5 years is a long time to expect elementary and middle school students to be paying Chromebooks and tablets. Funding for assessments, funding for maybe one of the most critical ones, your educators, your staff, your administrators, your facility folks, right? Are you attracting good candidate pools? Are you keeping those teachers employed? Are they burning out? Are they getting paid for this? And then local control. You have enough money left at the end of the day so you can have the creative conversations you want to have about discretionary options, or do you feel like your decisions are largely driven by, oh gosh, it's a zero-sum game, right? So when you think about all those component pieces, again, I would often encourage you to talk to your finance folks as well, and do that with thought exercise, right? Drop yourself down to your base budget. Delete all of your other budgeted funds where you somehow collect money. Ask yourself, can you combine? Do you provide all those pieces, right? It's not that quickly without accepting any additional funding. Can, then we've got a problem in terms of the actual state share, right, from the school district. If you're happy to fill out constantly, consider asking your taxpayers whether they help you out and do it, which is awesome, whether you just can't because you don't feel like you can make that choice as a responsible for your community. The point is you're not supposed to have to. Right, we've made that sort of constitutional compact with our kids and with our communities and with our staff to not have to. So we are preparing to go down that litigation road. We're talking to districts, answering their questions, seeing what they want to know, seeing if they're interested in joining, seeing if they're interested in if nothing more. Asking their superintendent and their staff to provide us with information why students don't matter, what's your unique circumstances, different unique circumstances, not like their schools, not like students, that are not sure it's pushing school funding. So, sorry I mentioned more than I would like to, but what questions do you have for me?
So in my previous life, I was an educator and I was involved indirectly, partly through with these two lawsuits. What's different this time around? Are we got a decision from the Supreme Court, as I understood it, that was, I thought, pretty clear. Because of the statement. And here we are, 15 years later, whatever it is. We're saying we need to do this again. What are we expecting now that didn't happen with the last court decision? Why are we reinventing the wheel? Why aren't we just going back and saying to the Supreme Court, this is the ruling that you handed down, and why are we having to relitigate this again? Or are we now asking the court to tell the state legislature, which I obviously don't trust, given certain cultural makeup of it, come up with something different? So what's different this time around? Since you already have some case law, I can reasonably clear, but I'm not a lawyer, I'm very kid.
I think that that's a great question. I think I would agree with you that the case law is pretty clear in the broad brush strokes, right? And I think that what the legislature put into place, that actually in writing, is also pretty clear. The problem comes in with, right, the ultimate dollars and the way it should be, right? The state is supposed to perform cost studies with regard to all of those 8 components, what it actually costs to deliver, right, on those content standards and capitalizing facilities, technologies, and providing for quality educators and staff to deliver all of that. Those studies have never been done. Facilities just haven't seen that. And so we've got 17 years since that time, going on 18 years. We know special ed is behind, and we know that because you guys provide information on how much you spend on special ed every year. And the state gives you lots of money for special ed, doesn't fall. I mean, you told me.
Yeah, it's never been funded fully in Montana.
I've never seen a district that doesn't have to do something, right? $6 from the federal. So the long-winded answer to the question is, it's actually going in and slapping down the existing precedent, saying, here's what you're supposed to do, here's what you're doing, here's what you're supposed to do. And have to right? You're not wrong to suggest that or things like that by surgery. Literally, a slightly frustrating endeavor, right? Because it seems like the law's pretty clear of what needs to be done. But school funding.
So what leverage, if the Supreme Court decision from the last time around hasn't created equitable funding, what's going to change this time around? If the Supreme Court does hand down a decision that's favorable, because we got that the last time, and here we are back to court again. Or being asked to come back to the court.
So in theory, right, the Supreme Court can speak, the Supreme Court can tell the legislature, hey, the system is not working. And we need to, right, yes, we can just fund it, right? The legislature ultimately makes that determination, right? And I can't say that they would do it or not do it, but predominantly the legislature has taken views of the next vote, it's not providing. I see your after hours raised. That's largely what's been, what's with both, well, at least with Columbia Falls and past. When you look generally at school funding litigation in Montana, but we've had press cases that say, oftentimes you'll get a court decision that says funding's inadequate or funding's inequitable, and then on your chart of funding, you'll see it do this. And then give 2 years, give 2 sessions, and it starts over that proceeding. So there's another lawsuit and you say do this. And then you're going to plateau again. Is it the best way to run education funding policy? Absolutely not. The law usually steps in these cases when the system is in a point where there is just inadequate action on the policy or legislative side with regard to the law.
So what is this suit specifically been asking the state legislature on schools?
So
We both know that inadequate, the word adequate is a weasel word.
So that's a good question. The courts in Montana, as we said, they were reluctant to say what the number is. Right? What they said is, we'll tell you on a binary, are you doing it right or are you not doing it right? But we're not going to step in and say, right is $12,000, $13.46 per child. Right there, that's the courts have been reluctant to do. So we're the full separation powers, constitutional powers. And so my hope right? For my kids, for your kids, for all the districts I've spoken to, is that this committee gets it right. That they get it right in terms of designation of the system, that they get it right in terms of coming up with proposed funding models, that goes to the next legislature, that the next legislature says, absolutely, these are all fantastic ideas, and let's just add an extra 10% on. So that you guys can waive all of the fees for students that want to go to sports games. Right, so the districts can have extra funding on it. The lawsuits there is all that, right? And then they did that, the lawsuit might go away. Right, because that's all the lawsuit is saying that the system's not working, the system needs to be. Okay, please.
So how is this lawsuit going to be funded? Is it pro bono?
It is.
It is pro bono? I applaud your efforts, and I find it unfortunate that we have to, again, for the third time possibly, resort to this type of action in order to get the state legislature to move appropriately. I don't have a lot of faith in this commission. I've watched some of their hearings already on what's already been talked about, sat there scratching my head. I don't find the makeup of the state legislature in any way being favorable towards funding of education, given the cultural problems and issues in the last few sessions. So I understand the need for a fallback position because I don't have much faith in either one of the two anyway. But I'm concerned that once again, we're going to have the state Supreme Court making out a decision. Once again, we're going to have the state legislature reply, especially given the conservative leaning of our current state legislature. And I really support what you want to do, but based on all my experience in most of your education, you gotta do what you can. That's what it is.
Mr. Lene, could you talk about what your process is right now, with districts you're working with? Your, probably not engagement, but how you're taking in the interim committee's work and what your process is going to be going forward, like based on if they do something that feels meets adequacy on the level that the districts you're currently representing would agree with, or if it does not, and what that would look like in either situation. And then also, are other districts joining into this suit, and what does that look like if other districts are
Yeah, so, just because we're in the nascent stages of things, and of course, it's like strategy questions, I'll try to be more general than we want here.
No, that's okay.
Obviously monitoring the ongoing, nothing that the commission can do on its own that can change the current status quo. The commission can come up with the best plan, the worst plan, the best proposal for funding, the worst proposal for funding. Ultimately, that will be left in the hands of the legislature.
They'll make the recommendations to the
Exactly.
and propose legislation.
In the last interim funding commission, the commission didn't make any specific formal recommendations as the commission was more of a sort of consensus with some ideas, some disagreement there. Other districts right now, all I can say publicly is that Missouri has probably formally voted. You had another question.
I mean, I think there was, but I didn't think.
Can I ask a question? Will you, as you go forward, kind of feeding off of what Dan asked as well, have suggestions or ideas on possible funding mechanisms? I just think in my 28 years in Montana, how many funding mechanisms we've talked about and we pulled, right? From the lottery system to the marijuana tax to the timber sales to the I mean, you can name several different things we've talked about with education, and yet we don't have a funding mechanism that, like other states, use to help fund their education system. You guys are making a recommendation on?
So, I can't say yes or no to that. I don't think that's been sort of formally determined. There's a couple of problems with making a formal recommendation through the litigation process, and that's that, one, it's ultimately up to the legislature. Right, there are proposals put out there, things like sales taxes, right, or lottery or other pieces. I could have lots of opinions as a lawyer or a layperson, but ultimately, if that system is put into place and that system is legal, right? If the legislature just said we found, say, $2 billion more to put into the funding case, if they do, right, it's highly unlikely unless that system that they've set up is illegal in some way, that a school funding lawsuit could necessarily change that. The other piece to be cautious on is that, back to your question, Stephanie, if you have multiple clients, those discussions, right, within, in terms of making policy recommendations, can become more tricky if you have one client who says, we absolutely should, right, have more casinos and more casino revenue to fund that, or we should have a sales tax, or we, should tax millionaires, right, or pick any concept of funding you want out there. And there's going to be room for those discussions. I can't say the court never would, but the Montana courts just historically in like Columbia Falls and Mellon Elementary have been reluctant to say, this is how you got to do it. They've just said to the legislature,
It needs to be done. Right. Okay. That makes sense.
There's that tension between sort of law and policy, right? That's why, again, I'm not going to disagree with you that it's not the best. I think in some cases, the arrow left in the quiver.
So when a school district, if one were to sign on as a litigant, part of the litigation, what does that look like for the school district?
So the school district's name obviously would be publicly on the document, right? School district A, B, C, right? Columbia Falls, and then a coalition of other, I think there were about 5 to 7 districts and some other folks. In terms of participation, oftentimes the lion's share of any staff time or work would fall largely on your superintendent and your superintendent delegating or identifying points of contact with folks who can provide that information, like what your facilities look like, right? What are the costs you're experiencing? Right? All of the nitty-gritty that goes into people telling Stephen Hill's story, or any given school district's story. HR, right? Talking about what it looks like when you try to get a new teacher with specific credentials, how often you're losing teaching staff, right? How difficult is it to keep paraprofessionals, right? All of that information. So there's human cost, right? In order to put that information together. But that's important, right? Because you can point at paper and you can say, look, they're supposed to figure out how much it costs to build a building, and they're not providing us with that. But that doesn't tell the story, right, of what's happening in a school district, right? School districts that don't have the school reserve levies, but suddenly have catastrophic roofing. Right? You can look at actually these service districts because we're talking about kids, we're talking about teachers, we're talking about staff, we're talking about the entire education system, not just problems.
So has this suit been filed, or is where is the filing?
It hasn't been.
what is the plan to file a complaint?
Unfortunately, I know that's gonna be frustrating when I say this, I just.
So are we?
I would say if you.
And you're kind of the answer.
I love these conversations, I love your people's thoughts on them. If you guys wanted to have more conversations, even if it was just the conversation, but is this something you're interested in, and you say yes, or you say no, saying hacking, right? Like, we could have a closed sort of litigation session where that discussion actually happens in that more like attorney-client privilege standpoint, where it could be a little bit more forthright on this with you, and it still need to that possibility at the end of the day, wouldn't hurt my feelings, but, then certainly, I mean, it, some of those pieces of the,
I got it. I'm a pretty simple guy. So, we all know schools are underfunded. Taxpayers get taxed too much. If it's a pro bono deal, what that, and I'm not a lawyer, obviously, I'm a wood guy. So like, how is it not to where we can just say, sorry, I don't know what
Andres.
Andres.
like, here's football, bud, go run with it. If it works out, great. Obviously, we can get back to working at 80%. I kind of, because then you're gonna have to prove in some way, shape, or form that we can't operate with 4 to 6% less funding. And stuff like that gets hard to prove. And that's probably where the state's doing is, well, if you've been doing it, well, and you can go ahead and get rid of Vicky Molly. She's fine, blah, blah, blah. And so it's like, so why, thanks, Vicky. My kids are done with you, so you're fine. But it's, it's like, I guess it's like, why can't somebody, if you're gonna do it, then do it. In like, if it's wrong, it's wrong. If there's a precedent set with one school, why doesn't it work with every district? We're all underfunded. It just doesn't work. Like, we're sitting here trying to figure out how to do everything. So simplify it for me. Like, why doesn't it just, why can't it just go?
It can.
So,
Well, so what we would ask for, right, like what we're asking districts if they're interested is, would they like to sign on? Would they lend their name to be, right, just standing up and saying, like, we, essentially, if you think about it almost in like if you've heard about class actions.
Right.
Essentially, it's right, that would be the simplest analogy.
Yeah.
Right, it's sort of all school districts in the state of Montana are represented by this representative.
And using our data, our information, our story.
Sure. Which is, I mean, in all reality, it's all public anyway.
Right, yeah,
It's
just
a matter of.
a louder voice saying it.
You get,
Yeah.
you
Well,
get it together. and
Which is
say,
stuff we study anyway, right? Like
Exactly.
we study how many people apply for our jobs, and we study our salaries, like how difficult it is to continue. We need to compete with districts around us.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. For a long time, you're- I don't know. Go take the football and run. I don't know. I don't know. It seems crazy. But it's a different world than what I live in, so. I applaud you for what you're trying to do. It's amazing. So, I hope you win. Hope it gets back to where it should be.
Little thing we, our kids, that's what this is really all about.
Well, that's, absolutely. It's all the reason I'm here.
It comes back to the same thing. Are we gonna take care of our kids when it comes to education at the state of Montana? That's what's being asked to be, that's what this commission has to be done to do. But you're exactly right, this commission has, just a, they can only make recommendations. That's all they can do, whether or not, and they can come up with proposals. elaborate recommendations to fund schools in the state legislature and say, well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Which is what I would expect of you.
No, the way it was presented to me was with the superintendents is the fact that if you're starting now, when the commission finally gets done and we feel like it's adequate, that we've already started the process of doing the lawsuit. If not, if we wait with the lawsuit all the way until the end of when the commission releases information, gives their recommendation, then we start, and then we're another year or two down the road from where we were anyway. So that's another piece of this too, right? The timeline.
Yeah, I was just at an educational conference, and the Arizona case started in 2024, and got decision in 2025. If you ever needed a recipe for why, like, don't go to court, right, that's relatively terrifying. So if you go alongside, right, the interim funding commission, and you say, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's what you're not doing, right? They're on notice. You can make those recommendations, they don't have to make those recommendations. They can pay attention, they can ignore it, it doesn't matter. You can sit there and watch when the legislature goes into session, right? And on Sign Me Die in May, you're ready to go. You know, they've either said, let's make sure we're funding a quality education for all of our kids. Let's make sure our districts can do what we need to do. And then, we'll pack it in. I would say you guys did great. You and the others who said, this doesn't make sense, right? You want to challenge this, you provoke change. Maybe they say, no, you didn't, right? But at the end of the day, who cares? You actually can't. And if not, then you're ready to go. You start, and you figure it's going to take you 2-3 years, my goodness, it's going to be 2030. That's wild.
I think it's been proven that we've had to do it twice before.
Yeah.
And so I think that I understand the rationale of the argument that John's putting forward, and I agree with the whole part. It's better to be forearmed than forewarned. And so I don't have a problem saying, this is what the alternative is. That's fine. To start now or as soon as possible makes sense to me. Because we all know how the courts and all of these things, I mean, you can't just open like a quick computer and suddenly say, here's our Supreme Court. And take a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of time. And I'll come back to the same thing. I don't have a lot of faith in this position. Back in the economic recommendations, I have less faith based on history, but also on the current behaviors of the previous state legislature. I have no confidence whatsoever in it. The fact that we were able to get the Lou Jones Act passed. Shocking. But I think that the current legislature is way too far. So I have no problem. I support the idea.
Other questions from the board? Questions for Mr. Holliday from the board? Certainly appreciate the presentation. Obviously, it comes with a question behind it that you might set up on the agenda, as you know, to think about, but definitely gives us something to think about. So, and I would echo as well that appreciate that this effort is being done in this direction. Your setup was very good as I think about the number. You strip all those things away. It's just not. Well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all for your time. I get any questions for me. John knows how to get in touch with me if you want to chat. Thank you.
Can I shake your hand? Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Right, Mr. Amy, informational items B.
Okay, this is the
Packets.
high school report. I think you guys all have a copy of it. I tried really hard to put it on one page, but I couldn't make it happen.
Okay.
We have, we have so much going on, and it's all exciting. Just from the charter schools to what we're getting with IXL and our safety and wellness goals. Transportation update, which you guys are gonna see in a little bit, is exciting, where we're at with the busing. Brody's in Bozeman right now, well, on his way, should be about there, but the main thing is that setting, spring sports schedules, so we're already looking forward to where we're at there. The one thing I included that was a little different, because we get questions about behavior and so forth a lot, was just up to date, where are we with the number of behavior referrals we've had at the high school? To put that in perspective, 74, and we're in day 52. That's not a lot. It gives you good perspective. We've got good kids. We're not spending all day disciplining kids, so it allows us to do the fun stuff that we get to do in schools. So I'll stop talking and just stand for questions. What questions you guys have from what I presented?
I appreciate this two-page report. This is good. Can you, there's been some things published in the paper, published online, you alluded to here. Trophy case, Hall of Fame, collaboration, just 60 seconds on kind of some of that, just to, so we're all on the same page.
All right, start to watch this. No, 60 seconds for me. The trophy cases and Hall of Fame. As you know, there was the Stars Foundation was tied to the Hall of Fame for a lot of years, trying to do some things. And the Hall of Fame is kind of they've kind of split in their purposes and what they're doing. But anyways, right now the Hall of Fame is working with us. We've got all of the trophies actually in the open science room right now. So we've got them all out of the boxes. They're cleaning them up. They're starting to categorize them. With the plans of being able to put them in a trophy case. If you walk out of the foyer, you're going to see the blue tape. So our CTE is actually going to build inset trophy cases, okay? Which will be great. We looked at the price of buying some, and most likely the ones we'd be able to afford would be laminate. I just don't think they would look as good as what they would look like if they're built in to the walls right there. The seed money for the glass, it's gonna be the most expensive part, quite frankly, is coming from that old pay-to-play money that was there. So our plan is to start working on it. The individual sports have all agreed to actually put in some money themselves to help furnish their part of the trophy cases. And so our goal is to roll with this thing, and we want to have these trophy cases done before the basketball season is over. So we're hoping there is one weekend where we celebrate it and we get that stuff in. The reason Hall of Fame is involved is they're not going to be doing a fundraiser, or they're not going to be having an induction ceremony this current year, all right? But they're doing this work to be able to publicize that they're still there in anticipation, so when they do it next year, everybody knows that committee's still alive and that committee's still doing things. I know that's way over 60 seconds.
No, that's okay. Is the school, the parent organization now in the Hall of Fame, or is that an appropriate term, or elaborate on that?
So the Hall of Fame committee is as the same committee it was before. All right, the same group of guys. Steve Lewis is kind of leading it up right now.
Right.
I believe John Conrad actually is one of the members of the Hall of Fame committee, but they're people who they meet once a month, and they're just trying to keep that excitement going, and this is one of the big ways we can do it.
How much revenue is generated from this going where?
Revenue from what?
Hall of Fame banquet, my understanding is that the district's gonna take that on.
Okay, so That's different. I was gonna say trophy case is not gonna create any revenue. We're gonna hold Bill. But
No, he was, Ben asked you about the Hall of Fame.
right.
So we had a Hall of Fame, whatever.
But that's mostly been.
So where is the revenue from that gonna go, since it won't go to Stars Foundation, or it is going to Stars Foundation?
So actually, I don't know that there will be much revenue at the induction ceremonies at all. In fact, it'll start to change the way it looks. The school is gonna help put on some of those ceremonies, and it will be more of a recognition ceremony. We will be using our current student organizations to help put on the induction ceremonies. For example, let's say we pick somebody who was a great athlete, but they were also probably FFA, or they were maybe business and DECA, would be a chance for us to showcase clubs and so forth. But I guess I didn't clarify that. That Hall of Fame won't be as much as a revenue building organization as it used to be when it was tied to Stars. Stars will still be building revenue, but doing it outside of the Hall of Fame community. Does that
I
help?
have a question about your discipline report.
Yes.
So I noticed that a significant part of the discipline issues is around cell phones.
Yes.
Would you like to speak to that?
So if you go 24% of 70, that's 18 incidents of cell phone. That's not bad. All right, that's not bad at all. So what that would be incidents where an administrator had to become involved. For example, a teacher, caught a kid with a cell phone. Kid said he didn't have a cell phone, so you have to deal with it now in a situation where you had to take the cell phone from the kid or have the parent come up and pick up the cell phone. But 18 of them, I actually think that's a pretty good number, especially when you shut it down as much as you shut it down.
Well, we're looking for that number to go down.
I'd love that number to be 0, of course, right? As you move forward, I don't know that it'll ever be 0.
So are these issues that have made it into the administration office, or are these issues that are reported by staff to the administration?
These would be issues that the staff has reported to the administration, so all of these have been issues that have had to have been acted on by administration inside the office, yes. So what you wouldn't be seeing in there would maybe be your first period and fifth period targets, because a lot of those are dealt with right when they're walking in the door, may become a very quick lunch detention, something like that. Those are probably not reflected there. Okay.
Well, and I'll just piggyback on that really quickly with the cell phones. We encourage the teachers to write them up even if it's the first offense, because I personally, since I'm usually the one who acts on it, I like to have a record. And so, because the first time it's usually we take it, they can pick it up at the end of the day. Second offense, we call their parents have to come pick the phone up at the end of the day. And then anything after that, they start being forbidden to essentially bring their phone to school for a certain amount of time. And parents have been really supportive of that. So it's it's still gonna take a while to extinguish that behavior. And like Zeke said, I don't know that we're ever gonna completely extinguish it, but they're definitely getting the message that this is not okay. We're operating under some new structure now, and they're getting the message, but it's slow. I mean, kids are resistant. When you've got kids that are sort of in this day and age, and a lot of them very addicted to cell phones, it can be a process. So, but they are getting the message for sure.
I just I really like the behavioral referral information that you presented to us, because I think it shows us that it's not one thing that's going on on campus. And so I appreciate that you took the time to dig that out and show us where the issues are. So thank you for doing that. I found it very informative to let us know what's going on campus.
Just to reiterate, I like the last part as well on the discipline stuff where, for example, number of students receiving more than one behavioral referral, that's only 6% of our school population. And so when Zeke talks about the fact that we good kids. I can show you some data from the last high school I was at that is a lot different than this. And so I really appreciate how hard you guys work to create relationships and the staff with kids. So kudos, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Keeney. Yes, great report. Thanks for the layout and all the building reports. We appreciate that. Questions from the public? Was there any further questions? All right, we'll move on to statewide insurance update from our business clerk, Aaron Cooper.
All right, you want me to take this one?
Go.
Okay, so we have met with Bridge Health, which is the state coming forth with their statewide insurance program for districts in Montana. And we've met with our insurance committees, looked over the information. At this time, we have not come to a decision. We do have till, I believe, December 19th to decide if we do want to join in that or if we don't. We are going to be getting ready to have another meeting to talk over some of the more information coming up. And it's really a difficult decision to make because we don't know what the other premiums potentially could be. So all we have to go off of is what Bridge is giving us. And on the composite rates that they've given us, it is slightly lower than what we are currently paying. But we don't know what the other rates would be come spring.
The benefit is obviously the number of people in the insurance plan statewide and the projected savings over a series of years where they guarantee not raising the insurance costs more than 3 or 4% each year, as compared to sometimes we've had insurance increase, 8 to 10% sometimes. And so having more people in the insurance pool obviously makes it more stable. And so that's the piece, I think, for a lot of districts, why they're moving forward with this. We've been definitely, they need 12,000 employees across the state to be part of it. And they need 120 school districts. Biggest piece is making sure all the AA schools are signing up. And there are a couple that are hesitant right now because of some of the aspects of one of them, how do we pay retirees with their insurance? That was not proposed in the original plan. And then some of these school districts have their own self-insurance, self-funded insurance. And so their savings aren't as significant as some of the districts outside of the AA ranks as well. And so we have verbal commitments, I think, from all of them, but they haven't done the board vote yet. And so we should be hearing more this week and next week and the first week of December on the rest of the districts that are going forward. And so at this time, we've looked at a lot of data. We're coming up with a tiered plan to propose, as well as a composite, put it back to our people, get the unions involved, get information from them on what we believe would be the best way forward, and then come with a proposal to what we're going to do. I think the slow play in this up until into December is the best plan to see all the rest of the districts that are going to decide to come aboard in the next couple of weeks here. So overall, it looks very enticing because of the amount of supposed slow increases over the years, 5-year commitment. So one of the questions we asked was, if we get into this, we don't like the plan, it's not going the way we want it, can we get out? And we can, but we can't get back in
Right.
without paying substantially a lot more for that. And so the other piece of it, our current insurance company won't release information on their prices until into April, May. And so you can kind of see the dilemma that we're going to, trying to make a commitment in December when we don't know exactly what's going to happen in May. But I think if another question was, can we get out of it? What if we sign up for it in December and then we get to May and our insurance company that we're looking at, and whether we're going tiered or composite, still a decision, and we like their plan, can we get out of that and go back to the original company? And they said yes to that.
Yes.
And so it's kind of a soft commitment, but yet my recommendation, just from the years of experience working with insurance, right now with this pool, I think we got to find out who are all the rest of the players that are going to be part of this, as well as what they're going to do with retirees. That's kind of a big decision that would be part of the decision process.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so is the Bridge Health, is it gonna be composite or is it gonna be tiered?
It can be either. We asked for, so we as Stevensville District have always been composite.
Right.
And so we asked for quotes and they did give us both quotes. And so Superintendent Conan and I are working on a proposed tiered plan for our district.
Yeah, I was on the insurance committee last year and so
Yeah.
I sat, and so I know that our staff kind of preferred that, although the insurance rep had said that composites are kind of going away.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think there's very many left in this.
There's
state.
not. I think they said one of like 4 in this state, that's it, that are still on a composite.
Dan.
We're aiming to stay that way, it sounds like, or are we still, because I know last year we talked about maybe having to make go to a tiered rate.
Right, and you're not going to make everyone happy no matter which
Yeah.
way you do it. And so
Yeah.
I think that's why we hire McClellan,
Marsh McLennan.
Marsh McClellan, I can never pronounce that, to advise us
Yeah.
with our exact plans, lay them
Yeah.
side by side, go through it with us so we understand all the complexities of it. So we would actually love more people to be involved in it and helping look at this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Dan. Whoops, sorry, that's not my job.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to ask the questions and then I'll share with you some information. Is the 12,000 enrollees the floor? Is that the minimum to keep this particular trust solvent? Whatever that would look like. Because
$40 million,
you
right?
know what you claim.
So the state's given 40 million for that, and they need, they've laid that out there. They need 12,000, at least 12,000 employees, which you would need your AA's to be a part of it.
So we'd like to see this go on and whatever. So here, years ago, something similar to this was in motion and happened. And Stevensville was a part of it. I was on the board of directors. And as time rolled on, what started to happen is that as districts asked for rates from bigger insurance companies undercut the trust. So the enrollee numbers in the trust obviously started to go down. We got hit with a couple of rather large claims. And because of, at that time, issues with what was then called a stop loss carrier resulted in us not being able to pay or some other things happened. So what ended up in the long and the short of it was enrollment dropped as districts started to get quotes from larger companies, started to undercut them. We lost some numbers, enrollees dropped. Claims got excessive and expensive. Trust basically went away. It went bankrupt. I'm concerned when I see things like this happening again, even though we didn't have a $40 million influx of revenue. But it doesn't take long for $40 million to disappear in today's.
Right. So Bia presented last Wednesday, and she spoke to 2 pieces on this. One being the retiree piece that they never answered that yet. The second piece is when there is a huge claim like that, who pays and how does it get spread out, right? Because if we get caught be part of this with everybody, even with a huge claim like that, who gets affected? Is it just that district that's in there, or is it everyone gets affected from it? Because there might be a group within the big mass of 12,000, right? They're just the double A's possibly, because they've offered possibly different incentives to get them aboard, right? And so if something happens, would we, is it just to that section of the double A's, or is it going to be spread across all of the 12,000? So that's something that's never been answered from what Bia said. And so that's a piece we're hoping to get more information on, is when there is a huge claim, how does that get spread out across the constituents?
So back in the day, that's where the stop loss carrier came in, trigger number in terms of the amount of claim that then triggered the stop loss backup insurance carrier to then do whatever it was supposed to do. That's how that was supposed to get addressed. We'll go into what ended up happening there, because we ended up in court, but that's a pretty valid and extremely important question that needs to be answered.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's how we tried to address it in the first process, is we tried to spread it out amongst the enrollees, and then when it got to a certain amount, then stop loss carrier kicked in. So that's pretty important, because then you take along the bankrupt trust of only 12,000 or possibly less than what we.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good question.
I guess one thought that comes to mind is it's really nice that if we can sign up for it and then we realize it's not the right thing based on other rates, we can pull out. But what if one of the larger schools does? Does that then deflate the threshold and do they bring the whole?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then the other thing, do we know who's the insurance company, underwriter?
So
carrier?
they reached out to several, and only one came back with a bid for them, and that's Allegiance. None of the others would touch it.
Okay, and have you guys looked at networks? Like, has our insurance committee?
So they
assessed-
did, they did, but they don't have all that tied in yet. They don't have it all secured yet. They are still reaching out to get people to network with them. So they didn't have that all laid out. And we asked them to think about local pharmacies, and they didn't have that quite laid out yet either.
They did talk about the Medicare
Mm-hmm.
providers.
Yeah.
Tell more about that.
That if they are, if I believe, and Vicki, we're in on this too, I think, but if they're a Medicare provider, then like your doctor's office or hospital is, then they would accept what we have. They would accept that. But yeah, only one company would touch this.
What's the management structure of this look like?
That's a very good question, Dan. We don't know that at this point.
It was, back in the day, it was a bunch of us that were lay people that were from the school districts.
Right.
Put it bluntly, come back to the stop loss carrier problem we had as a result of significantly large plants. We didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
We ended up getting
Yeah.
play the law game.
Yeah.
But we didn't know.
That's why I think we slow play, see what happens, and we'll have better information for you by next board meeting to make a decision.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to.
And Marsh McLennan has been great. They have been going to a lot of the presentations also, asking a lot of these questions, doing a lot of back research for us also. So they've been very on top of it and helping us go through this also.
Is that 19?
I believe that's what it was. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. So,
Other questions from the board?
I'll get my other
Questions from the public?
four.
Just so you know, we have been asking those tough questions.
Yes.
I mean, that's point blank.
Yeah.
Who are your providers? And they're like, well, here's the link.
Yeah.
And so I went on the link. And I was like, yeah, I don't see anybody that's on the link. And then they, well, they are. I was like, well, I don't know how to get into the link then, because I couldn't find anybody. So it makes me really nervous. So until they can provide us with that
Right.
information, I'm skeptical. I mean, it would be wonderful, but I'm skeptical.
Once burned, twice shy.
Because I lived through that.
Yeah.
Other insurance stuff, yeah.
All right. Mr. Cohen, the superintendent's report, which is in our packet.
Thank you.
I'm going to give one other update really quick for you guys. Earlier this summer, we had talked about the lunch accounts and Infinite Campus. And so Angie Armour and I have been working on getting that implemented where parents can pay online. So in tonight's claims was the payment to Infinite Campus for us to purchase that part of the portal so that we can then move forward. We're hoping in the next month to have that up and running so that parents can pay by credit card. One of the other things we have done is that I've met with Dave Thomas and Nicole Sylvester, and we got together at the beginning of October and looked through the past due lunch accounts, which are significant, and started doing some research, and no one had really actively been going and trying to collect this money. Yeah, an Infinite Campus call might go out, some parent might get a text message. So mid to end of October, we sent certified letters to anyone that was X amount above and sent letters out to just about every family saying, we need you to get this updated. We did express what board policy was and asked them to please contact the school if they needed to make payment arrangements. So I have been making those with families if they need those payment arrangements, trying to get those accounts. And we have seen a good influx of payments coming in. A lot of parents were like, I didn't even know. Doing some more research, they didn't have an email Infinite Campus. They didn't have the right checks to be getting the emails, so we are trying to collect on those. So.
Thanks for your hard work, Glenda.
For both of those things, thank you so much, but I am overwhelmed about it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for all the effort going into that. I think that's going to be a game changer.
Yes.
We'll get it out ASAP.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Happy to report out on several different human resource pieces. We've been working hard to streamline everything through Frontline, and we have taken a lot of consideration and ideas into promoting the jobs that are open differently. We've been going down to our local stores and the post office and places to post some of our openings, just not Indeed or on the website. And so actually posting them around. That's one thing we didn't ask is like everyone that's applying, where did you find this information? Because we're still having them fill out the online application process piece of it. But currently we, I think are better than what it says on here with one opening and custodian. I think we might be fully, we will be.
Dave said we could have one more.
One more. So we have one more
But he said
opening
he has a
for,
great custodial.
right? And we've been working on that since
Couple of years.
June, yeah.
Years, really.
Couple years.
Yeah. Okay. So happy just to report on the human resource part of this. And really, I can't tell you how much it helps having one, a great team to work with, but two, from what you had last year, having someone dedicated more to the HR piece of it with Nicole. And we have the right person in the right job for that piece of it because she's definitely making everyone go through the process. Here's how we open up a job, and we have all those processes for how to intake someone and how to exit someone. That's specifically written down, and how many different systems that are affected by when someone comes on and when someone leaves the district. And so it's not that we weren't doing all those things, we weren't doing it systematically very well. So it would take a lot longer. So now having these systems set up, we're able to get people through the process faster. We can get them onto the board agendas and have the biggest thing right now, especially with the government shutdown, has been the background checks taking a lot longer than where they're at, up to a month right now, which has been difficult. I just applaud our people in our office that help out in so many different aspects with the human resource piece of it. On the next page, I do a little bit with the enrollment trends. I thought you might want to see the whole, like for 5 years, where have we been at? Notice we've had a big loss of students in the elementary. I don't know if you saw that from last year, from 473 down to 421. A lot of that, 8 of that is at the early learning program, early literacy program, with only 21 being in there. But we've had, the elementary has lost some students from last year. One of the things you can do with this chart too, you can look diagonally from the right to the bottom left, and you can see a grade level over time, right? So if you start at 2021, 2022 with that kindergarten class, if you look diagonally to the left, you can watch that class as it grows or gets smaller. So that's one way to track a class over time. Other than that, I don't have exactly all the information on why we're on nearly 50 some students less in the elementary than last year. I have to do some more digging on how, if these are transfer kids or what, to another district, or
do we know if neighboring schools, is this a valley thing? Are we seeing young families not in Ravalli County as more
talking
retirees?
to the superintendents in the last superintendent meeting? We've all seen a decrease, other than Corvallis, because they added in their charter school, they added in Pinesdale into their count. And so they're the only school in the valley that is growing. What we are all seeing is a rise in homeschooling. So that is a piece that across the state is significant, not just in Ravalli County, but everywhere.
Yeah.
Just seeing a rise with people leaving public education. But we're also seeing a pretty significant rise in the number of schools that are taking on with Harmony. Another company just like Harmony called Open Ed has started out just in the last, they just got certified from the state. Because right now, the only 2 online programs that are certified through OPI have been Harmony and Montana Digital Academy. Now with Open Ed also as an option, they are in several schools already just in the last 2 months. Harmony jumped from only having a couple schools last year, like 4 or 5 schools last year. They're over 17 schools now, mostly in the western side of Montana. And so we have received calls from kids as far away, families as far away as Chinook and Helena and Troy, asking to be part of our online program for Harmony. Right now, state law says you are not able to take anyone from outside of your school district online remote. They need to go to the closest program to them. And unless you're a charter school, if you prove that your program is different from everyone else's program, this is the gray area that I talked about when I talked about the charter schools. You can start taking kids from outside of your school district. So Corvallis runs their charter school. They are taking they took a lot of students that have actually called here and we've said no. They have taken them through their charter school. And so it'll be interesting to talk about what we do going forward with that piece of it. Right now, I feel like it's a little, there's some loopholes, I think, with it within the state law. If you look at your district has to be, the program that's being offered has to be different from the program that's being offered in an adjacent school district. And if it's different, then you can take them. And so one of the things we've done in the Valley here, though, with Harmony is that all 7 school districts in Ravalli County have Harmony, and we're not taking other students within our district's students. And so I would be calling out Corvallis on that if they started taking Stevensville students, even in their charter school, because we have Harmony, they have Harmony. We have a similar type program that they do. And so I can tell you it's getting interesting. The online piece of this in the next 5 years is I'm worried with the charter school piece, even though it's under the public umbrella. You're going to start seeing other companies coming in. The that want to be a part of education in Montana, like other states, like Arizona, Florida. Those are some great states to research if you want to learn a little bit about how far back we are on their timeline to where they're at now. Hopefully we keep our charter schools underneath our public school umbrella, and that's why the state agreed to start that way. So keeping them under local control of a local school board. Anyway, any other questions on the enrollment piece?
The bottom 3 lines, just about the total, all the remotes, are those all Harmony, or is any of the ALC students reflected in there as well? Or-
That's all Harmony.
Thank you.
Right. Just want to make sure you saw board recognition for Kyla Morton. That's kind of a huge award for her to win the Montana ACDA Outstanding Choral Music Educator for 2025. And so wanted to make sure you guys knew that that occurred, and we've been celebrating her here too. Tonight, we will be looking at with transportation, just to make this more public than what the board knows about it, is when we received our bill finally in October for August, September from the transportation company with Harlow's, we found what we felt like were some clerical errors with how the activity travel was being charged. And so when we looked in the contract, and what we thought we had negotiated was for drive time only, the amount of money that they were charging for drive time at $78.10 an hour, we felt like was pretty high. And so we felt like that when they didn't mention the downtime at all being charged, that they were covering that, which they should mathematically, through the amount of money that they're getting for the drive time. And so that was not the case when we got the bill. We had some trips, like for example, going to Hamilton for close to $500 with 4 hours of downtime. And so we felt like that was pretty exorbitant. And so dug back into the contract, started deciding our next steps, got some legal opinions on what to do next and where to go. And the best advice was to renegotiate that pricing with them. We're in a peculiar situation with transportation, and so we need to make sure that we're getting a quality product, but in the same sense, we also need to make sure that we are getting, we're not getting overcharged. And so there are a plethora of things we're working on daily with Harlow's themselves. What we did negotiate was to restructure the way that we're getting billed. And so we felt like that was a concession that I think we could live with after we ran the concession, which was 60% off of our travel activities, but increasing our daily rates on our daily route trips. We felt like after we ran those numbers for September that we felt like those are good numbers. Obviously, there's two different pools of money we're taking from. Activity money obviously comes out of general fund, and the route money comes out of transportation funds. And so there is enough money in transportation because of carryover from last year, reappropriated money that we can do this change for the next 2 years, and felt like this was a good plan to keep the costs for activities lower. And so what I have put in the board packet between my report and the possible changes to the MOU that we worked with Montana School Board Association with Lance Melton on this, and he helped propose the MOU. We sent the MOU to Harlow's. They sent it back with the copy that you have with the yellow highlighted, making sure the numbers were correct. And my recommendation would be to go forward with this contract for the next 2 years. Obviously, we need to continue to keep exploring all of our options. So, questions?
Just a comment. I went to the Florence 8th grade boys basketball game, which we won. They played their first game. And afterwards, our boys are sitting there. I left after 20 minutes, but our bus was in there. And it's last year that happened in the volleyball team. It was only 2 where
We've also been reassured we have more drivers.
Harlow's and Smithers.
And so we track every single time that happens. We track that on a sheet and we address it every single time.
Our kids sitting there looking like a bunch of homeless children. Because I want to see our district.
I'll talk to you later about that, but I'll find out how long they were sitting there.
Like I said, I left after 20.
Yep, so those are the issues we're dealing with constantly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Worked with the executive director of the Board of Public Ed. They reviewed both of our applications and said both of our applications for charter schools had all the necessary components for them. There was 28 components for each of those. A lot of schools got turned down already because they didn't have all the components and turned in time. So ours did have all the components, so they did set up times for us to basically defend our applications at 1 and 1:35 on December 1st. And so if we could get as many, if we can get as many board members there as possible, that would be fantastic. You may not have to talk. It's just the show of numbers and the show of support that you're there. There is probably, I think, 20 minutes of us talking about they'll have questions for us and we'll have to defend those questions. And then there'll be a Q&A portion. And then there'll be public comment for 5 minutes also on there. We are including our partners that we've worked with on these applications, such as Better Health, Summit. We have parent letters and student letters, even some staff letters as well. Had a great letter come in yesterday from Montana State University nursing program, and we have U of M. I mean, we have the big players in the state that see the benefit of this. I've heard them talk about the fact that every single AA that has a hospital should be having some type of a program like this, and they hope this takes off and is something that is prosperous. So kind of exciting news there to see that. Next Monday, coming a little bit closer to us than December. The charter schools is Cognia and OPI will be on campus here Monday. And again, the same thing. We need as many people as possible here for that. I did start the board meeting. I set a board meeting, and I'm going to start a little bit earlier so we can prepare before the interviews from the Cognia team and OPI team. You'll see other people on there. They have asked other superintendents from around the area to be on the team as well, which will be interesting. I got asked to do Darby. I can't do Corvallis because I worked at Corvallis, so they won't let people who've worked at a prior district work there. So Dave will not be on ours. So I already teased him about that piece of it. So I think it'll be an interesting process. We put a lot of time into it. Our SIT team, school improvement team, is going to be on call. They'll be part of the interview process themselves. It's about 20 minutes. They're also going to interview students around in all 3 of our schools. And then they have an hour and a half of actually going into classrooms and using an observation tool called the Elliott that scores people from 1 to 4 on 7 different environments. And they'll be in a majority of our classrooms, not all of them, during that 1 to 2:30 time period. I have a draft schedule for that already set. I'm probably going to push that out after I talk to principals on Thursday morning about the schedule, so teachers know if they're coming into their room or not. So again, there'll probably be 6 to 8 people on that team that will be rotating around. An observation lasts about 20 minutes. Again, they're not scoring or evaluating teachers individually. They're collecting data from those classrooms to get a school-wide piece of data in those 7 environments. And so that'll be part of the process as well. We have asked all of our admin to get certified with the Elliott tool to be able to use it with our staff. We have not done so this year yet. It has been done in years past. In addition, we've asked our SIT team to be certified too, so they know it's a process. You have to actually watch a 20-minute video and score it, and you have to be within. You have to score, I think, above a 92% on the test to pass. And so, I'm not going to say I passed my first time, but it was pretty close on my second time. Not that I haven't been in the classroom for a while, but it was kind of difficult. I'd like to ask the admin team too, but not now. Like how many times it took them to pass. But we'll do that later.
That what you were working on?
We'll do that later.
No, that's not.
Come on, Joan.
Last thing I wanted to report on was some great meetings that Stephanie and I have been a part of, wanting to learn a little bit more about what's going on with the STARS Foundation, understanding the finances, understanding the process of what we're going to do. I've been working with, actually, I got involved with the Montana School Board Association and 2 different lawyers from Calava Law to find a way to be able to work with donated equipment, donated time, donated money, as well as the school district on school district grounds. And so I've had a couple different opinions from that piece. I wanted it written down so I could follow something as we move forward with this process. And BIA did come forward with a way that we're going to be able to use the STARS Foundation. Maybe the only way we could use that money and do it for less than putting it under the school board's purview of the money. We'd have to put everything out to an RFP for anything over 80,000, which that project would be. But we're going to be able to, if we do it under a 503C and with that donated money and in conjunction with us, and obviously having a lawyer involved in what we're doing and having someone oversee it with engineered plans, that I was reassured from BIA we'd be able to move forward with some of that planning. So knowing that, we have taken all this information back to the facilities committee, and we've worked a year and decided lots of things about what we'd like to see going on our campus. But one of the things we really want to focus on are the tennis courts first. That's kind of where some of this money has been donated to them. And I don't know, I know this is my report, but if anyone wants to add anything that I missed from either a facilities committee team meeting or from the STARS Foundation meetings that we've been to. Tony and I have also went to the supply ditch meeting last Monday to propose putting a box culvert in. If you think about the sidewalk that leads to the ditch and you can't cross it, that area right there, we're looking at putting
By the bus barn.
By the bus barn, sorry. Yes, by the bus barn. Putting a box culvert in there and crossing the supply ditch to be able to have access to that side of the football field, soccer fields, everything on that side to make it much easier for access. It opens it up for several things. One would be access to the fields and the use of those fields during the day, during PE for instruction, but also during activities, as well as more parking that we could use for football on that side of the campus as well. And so they didn't tell us no. They would like us to make sure that we come next time in December with more of an engineered plan and an idea for how this is going to be done, which is exciting. And we feel like this could change the campus quite a bit by having an easy, better pathway across that supply ditch. So a lot of work we have done over the last month to get some of this stuff moving. For me, it gets exciting. I know there's a lot of things that we're working on here, a lot of plates in the air, but having team members help support has been really good.
I'm gonna come back to the stars and the school's relationship. Were you able to find any kind of written document that stated or clarified what the relationship was between their fundraising activities and the schools tapping into those resources?
I have their documents called their charter, I guess is what it
There's
is.
no written agreement.
No MOU per se, no.
But we've got all their organizational.
We did ask for that at the beginning. They're excited. They want to get rid of the money. They want to get some stuff moving and going. And so I originally had told them from the first recommendation I had from the lawyers that we need the money in our coffers to start work on it, which is a way that we could do it. It's gonna cost more money to do it that way, and it's gonna be more difficult to add in donated time equipment than if we did it through a 503C on our property. And so I will make sure to get all that written down before anything is from a lawyer, before anything is actually started.
You had a starter member attend a meeting this morning,
Correct. We did have
who made the meeting?
Jane and oh yeah, Jack Zilla's wife is an engineer, and so she is going to help support with the engineering of the culvert that would be going across there.
And Jane.
Jane Bigelow?
Oh, gotcha.
You know, having the Zillas at the STARS meeting the other day was really exciting too. Just, I think you attending the STARS group, getting the Zillas involved, I think there's a lot there right now. And I think everything's getting kind of hammered out and kind of shuffled down to, once we get this plan from Via to be, or what the metrics are from her and get things laid out. I think things are really looking good to start formalizing and be able to move forward in a systematic way that's going to work for everybody and also get the project done.
And they understand because they said it in one of the meetings, they understand the community perception a little bit of the fundraising that's been done already and nothing's been done with it. And so, like I had mentioned today as well about it's really hard to do any more fundraising without putting something down on the ground, without doing something. Like, so people have a hard time putting money towards something if nothing's been done with that. Unfortunately, that's the hard part too, when we've asked for a list of the people and equipment and all that, they're working on that list again. But we reassured them that we will have a process going forward to start working on some of this stuff.
Do we know a location?
We have a rough location of where it's going to be on the south end of the property.
The old Palmer house was that?
Are we keeping Bill Everett in the loop in some fashion or another?
He was at the last board meeting, yep, and gave his opinion. And I created a ChatGPT drawing of what he wanted, what he proposed, and we talked about it. And I also put it on your area's last board meeting too. But yes, he is a part of this process as well.
I think going back to the STARS Foundation, the money, when John says they're eager to get rid of this money, they really are. I think that if we hadn't done the work over the past 4 or 5 months, and really starting to move this project forward, I ultimately think the Stars Foundation will go away. You know, it's very hard for them to, as has already been said, to continue to try to ask for something. It would be very curious to see how much money was raised each year since they've started this quote unquote project. And I venture to guess in the first couple of years, that's when they raised money. They're excited to move on to the next project and work with the district. But I think that we're getting, there's a light at the end of the tunnel on this. And it is getting exciting. People's energy is starting to get back up. And kudos to you and all the work that you've done with different meetings and everything like that. It's been a breath of fresh air. And I think that this is something that's going to really start to come together. So, and the Stars will be able to move on to their next thing, which I'll be more excited to work with Stars. I lost kind of confidence in them. So I think that this is a really good thing for both sides and friends.
That's my report. Sorry, that was
Thank
one.
you. Other questions from the public? Thank you, Mr. Cohen. We'll move into our action items for tonight, which start first with out-of-district enrollment. Starting in the elementary, in front of you, you have a comprehensive piece of paper of a single elementary applicant seeking enrollment in the middle schools. The floor is open for voting.
I move to accept the administrative recommendations for enrollment of non-resident elementary students as presented.
Fran, is there a second? Seconded by Nathan. Are there questions from the board to the administration or to an elementary school? Seeing none, Dan, how do you vote? Aye. Fran?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Nathan? Aye. Motion carries. Student is admitted. On our agenda, we have district enrollment for high school, but none have been presented. And so we will take no action on that tonight. We'll move on to a resolution to conduct a trustee election. In your packet, you'll find the resolution calling for an election, Tuesday, May 5th of 2026. This is standard procedure to carry this out, and I think it also falls in line with some updated state law.
Yes, they have moved up the dates. Yes.
Yeah, so I think it was well explained in the packet, so the floor is open for a motion.
I move for an official school trustee election to be held by mail ballot on May 5th of 2026.
There's a second. Stephanie, seconded by Dan. At this time, are there questions from the board to our district clerk about this process and what it is? Questions from the public? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the approval of a name change. Currently, we have approved the Surratt soccer fields and have been requested to switch the word fields to complex. And appreciate Kathy Cook sharing the background of that change at our last meeting. Appreciate you here tonight or maybe. All right, and so Superintendent Conan, anything in addition to what we know from the last meeting that you probably share?
No, I think Kathy did a great job of explaining the process they've gone through, and we want to do it right because we also have a ceremony celebration too that we want to start planning for this next year too. So
We just want to be able to move forward. As I had said, once that it kind of started leaking out that we said Surratt soccer field, they said, well, I thought it was Casino Soccer Complex, and kind of back and forth, and so we would like to keep it at the Surratt soccer complex. That would make it possible.
All right, is there
I move to accept the name change from Surratt Soccer Fields to the Surratt Soccer Complex.
Seconded by Jennifer. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say sign. Motion carries. We have in front of us, let's see, next on the agenda is the approval to purchase a travel bus. So I think everybody is aware that our 2014 Bluebird gave up the ghost in early September and has been inoperable in Evergreen, Kalispell for quite a while. We're doing some final remodeling, taking some usable parts out of it, especially the seats. And then that will be fully decommissioned and sent to the scrapyard, which allows us to, by decommissioning that bus, it allows us to use our bus depreciation fund to purchase a new bus. And John has done an exceptional amount of research, and you've seen it, I think, in past meetings and in our packet on what we're looking at for a new bus. Good thing to have a choice one and a choice two. That's all worked out well for us. And then I appreciate Tony's done a ton of work too on getting us to something we can take a look at. So Superintendent Cohen, anything on this approval to purchase a travel bus?
We had a bus picked out, which we went with we had a 2009 one picked out that after the mechanic had gone through from the company, they did not like the extra things they needed to do to it to sell to us. And so I commend him for coming forward with that piece and not just giving us any old bus that we could have. We're obviously looking at one of the nicest types of bus called the Prevost. I put a lot of information in there about the Prevost, what makes it different from other buses around the area and what we have, just the amount of length of life of the structure of the bus is well over 1.5 million miles on it, and as well as the engine is easily over 1 million miles. Anyway, the bus that they first looked at is not something that we would purchase. So luckily we had a second recommendation that we had been researching as well, another Prevost, a little bit newer, 2015, and it has 500,000 miles on it. The price of $245 that is in the information packet that you may have seen is fully wrapped, new interior, new floor, carpet in the back of the seats. It'll be very nice. It'll be probably one of the nicest buses in the valley, and we're going to have to tell people how we purchased it, because it comes obviously from transportation money and decommissioning a bus, and we have depreciation money for that. And so one of the things that we thought about too, keeping all our options open with transportation. After purchasing that, does it leave enough in our account to feel like if we have to do any type of backup plan for anything with transportation, do we have enough there to be able to do that? And I feel like we do have enough money if something happens. So I think this is my recommendation is to go forward with this and give me the levity, the approval to do up to $250 on that piece of it, but it'll be delivered as well. I would love to have it here as soon as possible. We got another bus that we're currently working on a bearing on, and I don't think it'll be here by tomorrow. So this is something I guess that I inherited coming into the job, is working with the buses and the transportation piece of it. But I think by making this purchase, I feel confident that we put enough research into it that this is would be a solid purchase for our school district.
Dan, so is there a local resource available? In fact, this bus needs some kind of service.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we made sure that we weren't going to buy something that couldn't be serviced in Missoula.
Yes.
Volvo power plant, Allison transmission. So all portable gear, yes, Volvo's obviously European, but super common. It's not a niche.
You said as soon as possible. Do they have a timeline on when it would be ready and delivered? Any general estimation?
Part of my holdup is the actual decommissioning of the old bus. So after they get our seats put in, then they have to take out the oil, the gas, everything out of that bus so it can go to the junkyard. Then it's officially decommissioned after that. So as soon as that happens, then we can go forward with this purchase, which would be, them scheduling a flight for their guy to fly back on, and it could be hopefully within the next month and a half. So be nice to have it for basketball season, right? Be a Christmas gift. We'll put a bow on it and we'll put it out there.
Maybe some antlers on the.
There you go.
Thank you for all the effort you put into finding this, to Tony do it. This is really exciting to have this level of security for our kids that are climbing over mountain passes in the winter.
I make a lot of phone calls and emails, but Tony does more than that. So I feel really confident he's asking some of the questions that, I have a certain level of vehicle knowledge, but when we're talking diesels and buses, I feel like having his questions really helped.
The floor is open for motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to allow the superintendent to purchase a travel bus valued at no more than $250,000 from bus fleet company.
Second.
Moved by Fran, seconded by Stephanie. Further board comment or questions? Comments or questions from the public?
Erin Schaefer, I just want to say thank you, because it's definitely needed. And our teams and everybody who's going to the festival.
Right. With no further comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Mr. Coleman, thank you. We'll move on to the memorandum of understanding with Harlow's. Mr. Conan, I feel went into great detail on the document in front of you. I think everybody has a printed copy. It has yellow on it. It has highlights. This was originally drawn up by legal staff at NTSBA, and then Harlow's put their changes on it, and Superintendent Coleman has been probably worked more on this in the past 72 hours than most of us at school. So this has been well worked over, and the explanation in the superintendent's report was definitely appreciated. So with that, the floor is open for questions.
I move to accept the memorandum of understanding with Harlow's Bus Company as presented.
Stephanie, is there a second? Seconded by Nathan. Questions at this point from the board? And questions or comment from the administration? Okay. All right. All those in favor of approving the MOU as presented in front of you tonight, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. We have several policies up for first reading tonight: 2410, 3210, 3416, 5120, 5250, 5320, 81, 7400, 8111, and 8450. I will draw a special note to policy 7400. Appreciate Shelby's extra work on, it's around the district credit card. And if anyone wants to know what the person by person, staff member by staff member plan would be for that credit card, you all have in front of you a master employee list that correlates district credit card use to the updated policy 7400. So it's right there in front of you if anybody wants to look at that, and then we have all these policies. So before I ask for a motion, is there anything the policy committee or superintendent would like to point out with these?
The first 8 policies that are listed in the narrative there are ones that are all legislative changes, and so those can be adopted on first reading. 7400 would be go up for a second reading. So that's why I have 2 motions on there. One thing that personally I really liked from our policy committee was Dan asked some great questions. Dan always has great questions, but the question that he asked for a policy about dealing with time. For example, if you have to go to court for jury duty, you would obviously, they would not count against your time on the contract. And so Dan asked the question about what about if you are asked for active service or anything like that, why isn't that included also? And Calva Law said that's correct. That could be in that policy if you want that in there too. And so we included that piece in there. So I thank Dan for putting that in there to acknowledge anyone, because we do have people that work on staff that are connected to the service. So thanks, Dan, for that. Thanks, Fran, also for your hard work on those.
Policy committee? All right, there are 2 motions proposed in the narrative, as Superintendent Tony mentioned. The floor is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the following policies on the first reading. Yes. I'll start it. I move to approve the following policies on first reading as they pertain to new ordinance. 2410, 3210, 3416, 5120, 5250, 5321, 8111, and 8450.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Fran, seconded by Jennifer. Questions, comment from the board? Questions or comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and those policies are now approved on their first and reading. The floor is open for a motion on that reading.
I move to approve policy 7400 for a second reading.
Second. Moved by Stephanie, seconded by Nathan. Question or comment from the board? So this is you have the list of credit card authorized users in front of you tonight. The different policy on legislative based. Questions or comments from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our last action item tonight is up for second reading, policy 1310.
It would change the way we do policy.
Oh, right.
So we could actually pass everything on first reading if we wanted to. I'm actually going to get more feedback from our policy committee on what we want to do with that piece, but it leaves it up to the superintendent's choice, and I obviously would get feedback from our policy committee to bring that forward.
Policy on policies, committee on committees. affirmative.
I move to approve policy 1310 on second reading.
Second.
Been moved by Stephanie, seconded by Jennifer to approve policy 1310. This will be its final approval at this point. Is there questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say sign. Motion carries. It is 9:30 PM. Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Nathan, is there a second? Second by Jennifer. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, say sign. We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks for staying, guys. Thank you.
See ya.